I like to run. I like to play. I remember the joy running around the yard or digging in my flower bed. I enjoy that dynamic. And don't worry about me, because I'm just fine.
Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is AchieveRadio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/AchieveRadio.
Welcome, everybody, to Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. This is Ginny Gunther, also known as Ginny Almighty, and I'll be your host tonight, too, along with Dr. Carolyn Dean.
Phone lines are now open at 602-666-6027. That's 602-666-6027.
We'll be taking your phone calls from around the world and right here in the U.S. Welcome, everybody. We are live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. My name's Ginny Gunther, also known as Ginny Almighty, and I will be with you for the next 2 hours along with Dr. Carolyn Dean. And we will be bringing you just wonderful information and inspiration and a lot of fun talking about magnesium, miracles, minerals, RNA drops, and how you can become to expect and rely that your body will produce naturally wonderful health for you. We're happy to have Dr. Dean with us this evening. Before we bring her on, I just want to remind everybody that Dr. Dean is not only a medical doctor, but she is also a naturopath, an herbalist, an acupuncturist, a nutritionist, a lecturer, consultant, and author. She has been at the forefront of many health issues for over 30 years. And we're going to reflect on those tonight, and also just want to remind everybody that Dr. Dean does not give people medical advice on the radio. Of course, this is all up to you what you do with the information. She's merely sharing what she would do if she were you. So welcome this evening, Dr. Dean.
Oh, thank you, Ginny. It's good to be here. It's interesting to see what topic you put in the blog to folks to announce the show. Ginny and I don't communicate about this. It's always a nice surprise. So I get to the show and see what everybody wants to hear and then scramble so that I can respond.
Here we go.
Here we go. So it's a great topic. Ginny put out that we're going to be talking about thyroid. But first, let's follow a bit of the pattern that we've been creating the past little while and talk about the last two blogs since last week. I've put up a blog about sugar, and I put up another blog about pregnancy. And if you didn't get the email or if you've lost the email, the blogs are right there on my drcarolyndean.com website on the home page. That's where my blogs are. And the one on sugar, very straightforward. Sugar is bad for you. I've been talking about it for decades, and I revealed a little bit about my personal history, which I'm certainly not afraid to talk about. I have it in my Death by Modern Medicine book, and a big article on Natural News, the naturalnews.com. What's that? The Health Rangers website, Mike Adams. So what I say in the August 13th blog, that I've spoken about the dangers of too much sugar for decades. on a Canadian TV show in the early 1990s. I was investigated because I said bad things about sugar, and on and on. And now we're seeing that any study that comes out these days talking about sugar and health will tell you that people are suffering the effects of too much sugar, and all the while the big lobby of big soda is telling people that, well, you're getting overweight because you're not exercising. That has nothing to do with sugar, and they won't allow any other facts to come into play, such as high cholesterol, high triglycerides, coronary artery disease, autoimmune disease, yeast overgrowth. None of those even count. So you have to fight this battle yourself. Your doctor isn't even going to tell you about this, because what happened to me when I spoke out about soda and too much sugar on a national TV show in Canada, I did a Christmas show. There were a lot of school kids in the audience, and I had a demonstration where I spooned out 10 teaspoons of sugar into a bowl and said, that's what you get in a can of soda. And I spooned out 25 teaspoons, and I said, this is what you get in a milkshake. And the kids were just gasping and gagging. And the sugar lobby in Canada was not amused. And that's what happened to the World Health Organization when they tried to set a limit to the amount of added sugar. They wanted to limit it to 10% of the calorie intake, so that if you're taking in 2,000 calories a day, 10% of that is 200 calories in sugar. Well, the sugar industry wants you to have at least 25%, and they say that's perfectly healthy. And the World Health Organization, as I wrote in my book, Death by Modern Medicine, when they made those announcements, the U.S. sugar lobby was actually lobbying Congress, lobbying the government to stop putting money into the UN because they were interfering with commerce in the United States. The FDA had the same thing happen to it. Maybe in the past year and a half, they announced a proposal to include a daily recommended value for added sugars in the nutrition facts label of packaged food. And if you go to my website, click on this article, you can be directed to an article in Fortune magazine reporting on that big soda is in a froth. It's a great article in Fortune, and they talk about how the big lobby of big soda is attacking this proposal by the FDA. So it's a big battle. You don't have to get involved. All you have to do is quit eating a lot of added sugars, which lowers your immune system, causes a lot of autoimmune irritation, and causes yeast overgrowth, which is another thing that the allopathic medicine doesn't even recognize. So that's sugar. You can Google my name and sugar and find many other articles. I talk a lot about a video called The Bitter Truth that talks about fructose and the problems with fruit sugars and how fruit sugar got hijacked by the corn syrup industry. The high fructose corn syrup people decided to use fructose and say, well, this is just fruit sugar, so it's perfectly healthy in their advertising, and come to find out that that's caused a lot of problems, including increase in triglycerides and lipids. Facebook comments on the sugar blog. Someone mentioned a movie documentary they saw called The Sugar Film on Popcorn Time, and they said it's like a Super Size Me movie where and switch from a high-fat, low-sugar diet to the recommended dietary guidelines, and he gained 15 pounds in 2 months, and all his health markers flipped from healthy to dangerous. I noticed online about the FDA trying to label sugars on processed foods. I mean, how crazy is that? Not even being able to label sugar on processed foods. And they put it in grams. People don't know what a gram is in the U.S. What you should know is 4.2 grams is a teaspoon. So when you see something that's 20 grams, you divide that by 4.2, so you're getting about 5 teaspoons in a 20-gram soda. So Nutrition Action, a health forum or a health website, says, borrowing a page from Big Tobacco's playbook, Coca-Cola has quietly funded a new nonprofit organization of scientists who downplay the role that excessive calories play in the world's obesity epidemic. It's called the Global Energy Balance Network, and its registered website is www.gebn.org. And it was exposed in a New York Times article, so you can look that up. So, with the Internet being able to say, do, and have anything they want these days, you do have a lot of lobbying websites up there that give you half the truth about everything. And an email, someone emailed me after they've read the blog and just thought it was incredibly pathetic that Health Canada would be attacking me about my sugar TV show. It wasn't Health Canada, but it was my licensing body, who's very much attuned more to commerce and not to the health of the population. So that's the sugar lobby. Do you have anything to add, Ginny, before I go on to my pregnancy blog?
Yes, I do want to add this one thing. When I read your blog, I read it, this what it said, ended up with my expired license being revoked. It didn't matter that you were no longer practicing in Canada. I thought they took an active license. I had no idea it was expired. So they just really wanted to be boogers.
Yeah, it was so pathetically done, and they broke so many rules when the Ontario Licensing Board found out that I had a license in California. They called California and said, I should have my license taken away in California. And I heard about that, hearing. I didn't even hear about the Canadian hearing. I wasn't invited to it. So I heard about the California hearing. I went to California, pled my case, showed them what Ontario did, and usually each state or each country just said, okay, they took your license away, well, we don't want you. Well, they looked at my case, and they said, well, this is crazy. You can keep your license in California. So that, to me, demonstrated how horribly they had treated my case in Canada. I did not have a license. I hadn't had one for 2 years. I was in New York doing AIDS research, and then I planned to move to California. I had no intention of going back to Canada.
Wow. Very interesting. Okay, good. Yes, Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean. We're going through our blog post this week, and then we'll be pressing on to our thyroid topic, Terry, so just hang in there. All right, Carolyn, just wanted to make that comment.
Yes, thank you. Now, I sent out this email blog a couple of days ago, Too Many Pills in Pregnancy, but I just saw a few minutes ago that I had not pressed the send button to put it on my website, so it looks like I just put this Too Many Pills in Pregnancy up today, August 17th. And but people have gotten it by email. It's on my 4 Facebook pages. And what's interesting is more and more women are taking more and more drugs while they're pregnant and supposedly having more and more problems. And it just is kind of being swept under the rug. And that is even evidenced by the fact that there was no response to this post. I did not get one email from anybody saying, "Wow, this is terrible. I'll tell so-and-so." Now, it may be because my audience is past the childbearing ages, but even so, there would be people with children who are in the childbearing ages. On Facebook, a few people said they liked the post, and even fewer people shared it. So the point I think I'm making is that pregnancy doesn't even concern people anymore. And I don't know what that means. I'm sure Bob would have something to say about it. Ian would have something to say about it. They talk about the womb being closed, and that can be a combination of many things in that there's so much infertility these days that in order to get pregnant, a large percentage of women have to take fertility drugs, and there's more drugs that they're using during pregnancy, and I can't see how that does not have an effect on the developing fetus. I make a very clear statement about drugs during pregnancy. I say pregnancy houses a developing baby until it is ready to survive on its own. Obviously, the house that you create for your baby should be as pure and clean as possible. Do doctors even consider that as soon as your baby's liver develops in the womb, it actually begins filtering your shared blood? So if you are toxic, the strain on your baby begins there. If you take medications, your liver and your baby's liver are both affected in trying to detoxify that drug. Thus, all drugs are toxic during pregnancy. So, isn't that a dynamic statement, Ginny?
Yes, I thought it was, and when I read it, I thought that totally makes sense. And, of course, with we're one of the few, I think, companies or natural health companies that actually has a protocol for the liver. So many people overlook the liver and the incredible burden that it's under. And so, yes, this is fantastic, Carolyn, what you wrote. And I was shocked, too, because I look at our Facebook and Twitter accounts, as you do, and the amount of shares and reposting and everything. And this got very little traffic, and I was wondering the same thing. It's like, well, it used to be people were so sensitive to pregnancy, and it just seems like that's not the case right now. But like you said, maybe it's because they're being conditioned to take so many drugs to get pregnant, and they're taking drugs to not get pregnant. Then taking more drugs, while you're pregnant, just probably, I don't know, maybe it's not that big of a deal anymore.
I know. It is very scary because how else is the population going to continue if we keep having unhealthier and unhealthier children? Even now it's 20 years ago when I practiced in Toronto, Canada. I would say to the grandparents in my practice, boy, you're healthier than your grandchildren. The grandchildren were coming in with all kinds of ear infections, colds and flus and rashes and all the rest of it. And that was when they were starting to do more and more vaccinations. I didn't do them in my practice, but the families would come to me after the children had been vaccinated. So it's been going on for a long time that in in a society where we're drinking soda pop instead of water and eating processed foods and drinking fluoridated, chlorinated water, that all these things sort of take off the toxins in our body. And when they research, study, measure each of these insults to the body individually, they may somehow be able to suggest that, oh, that's okay, it's only a little bit, it's only such and such, so it shouldn't bother you. But what happens is you add up all these burdens and you get a total load that is stressing people and stressing their immune system, stressing their hormones, and actually that dives right into the topic today that you announced, Ginny, about the thyroid. And within minutes, it seemed like you had a great email from one of the readers of your blog, and I'm going to read it through and comment on it because she gives a beautiful overview of what young women are going through these days. She says, tonight's show is speaking to me already. I'm 46 years old with a TSH of 5.7 for over 3 years. TSH is thyroid stimulating hormone, which means a hormone, TSH, from her pituitary is elevated, trying to push her thyroid to work harder. She says she has healed her body from Hashimoto's thyroiditis, which produces antibodies. So she said the antibodies against her thyroid are below normal now. She did that after 10 years of working on a gluten-free diet, dairy-free diet, organic, non-GMO, non-toxic, everything. And lots of other foods she's also been avoiding because of food sensitivity testing. Now, what I'd say right there is to really look at yeast overgrowth, because when people are sensitive to a lot of things, especially actually if you're sensitive to inhaled allergens, either chemicals or ragweed or grass pollens, what happens if the yeast is irritating your nasal mucous membranes, then you become sensitive. It's the type of thing when you go into a grocery store and you walk down the aisle for soaps and laundry products that you just can't stand the smell, or you can't stand the smell of perfume or tobacco smoke. So I'd be looking at yeast overgrowth. She continues, I've been off Synthroid for 4 years. This was after getting the flu and going hyperthyroid at the same time. And this is what I've seen happening with some of my clients, where you can be hyper and hypo. You can be going back and forth as your thyroid is trying to push itself to work harder, and it just doesn't have the building blocks. And what we'll be getting to is talking about remite, which is our multiple mineral. 9 of the 12 minerals in remite support the thyroid. So she got hyperthyroid during the flu, which meant that her pulse elevated, and I assume she got blood testing and found out her thyroid hormones were becoming elevated. So her doctor took her off the Synthroid hormone replacement and gave her a heart drug to slow down her pulse, but she just used it for a week and stopped it as she began to feel better. And she's been going to an integrative doctor for several years, and she's looked for parasites and yeast in the stool. And apparently she said her stool didn't have candida. I don't really trust that as a test. I trust the long questionnaire at yeastconnection.com to find out exactly how many symptoms you may have of yeast overgrowth. She said her stool test showed low beneficial bacteria, and she makes her own fermented vegetables. I tell people to use Prescript Assist. That's an extremely beneficial, good bacteria. It's very powerful, yet very sensitive. And I've had such good results with Prescript Assist. You can find it under my resources at drcarolyndean.com. She did saliva testing, found out she has adrenal maladaptation from extreme work stress. She says she has MTHFR. That's the problem with the methylation gene. I talk about that a lot as being problematic for people who are low in magnesium. And for that, you need methylated B vitamins, which we have in our Realign. And Realign is the 4 methylated Bs, the methylated betaine, and 2 sulfur-based amino acids. The methionine amino acid promotes glutathione in the body, so it's a very gentle detox. So she said doing all this for TSH, the thyroid-stimulating hormone, was not budging. She says she took tons of expensive pharmaceutical supplements. She's weaning off them now. She stopped the 5,000 units of vitamin D it took her that she took for 2 years, so she's been listening to my information and found out that the vitamin D was probably dropping her magnesium. She said her T3 and T4 tests are not where they should be. So her doctor wants her to do more testing and hair mineral analysis, but she says, I'm done going down that road without any results. Yeah, I'm not keen on hair mineral analysis. We learned hair mineral analysis in naturopathic training, and it just didn't seem right to me that you took a sample of hair that had not been in your body for 3 months. In other words, the hair root was exposed to your bloodstream, and then it grows out, and then you get the hair outside your head. You cut it off, and it's going to be 3 months old before you get the results, and then you have to dance around and pretend like you know what you're talking about in order to analyze the tests. And then if people aren't using 100% absorbed minerals when they treat people for hair mineral deficiencies, then you're getting, certainly in the case of calcium, a buildup of calcium when only 4% of your calcium is absorbed. So, you have to be a real genius at hair mineral analysis, or maybe you have to be psychic to really figure out what's going on. But, I'm not really keen on hair mineral tests. She said she did a month of DHEA and pregnenolone. All these things, everything you've read, I've read here. It's what all the alternative medicine doctors are doing. They're still doing allopathic medicine in the sense that they're just giving more and more tests and more supplements to try to shift the problem. She said she stopped taking the pregnenolone because it didn't feel like the answer, and then she's very concerned about her hair falling out. She said, I just finished listening to the entire 2013 year of your archive podcast. Wow. Intuitively, I know this is where she and her family belong. She said, I did the RBC magnesium test before starting your products. It's at 5.1. Now, the thing is, if someone has been under the care of an integrative medical doctor for a couple of years, they should be on a lot of magnesium. I mean, that's the most important mineral. But she's not in the 4s, but she's close to the 4s. She wants to be 6.0 to 6.5. So, in a sense, we have something to work with because her magnesium is not optimal. So, this is how she began, and this is how everyone should begin. I get so frustrated when I read on Facebook someone say, yeah, I'm taking your your Remag, and, you know, after 4 days I'm up on 2 teaspoons and I feel kind of worse. And I don't know how we can get it through to people to read the Remag book, read the directions on the label of the body, read the package insert that Ginny sends out to start with a 1/4 teaspoon. Now, that's what this woman did, but she began, you know, even a step back from that and began her salt. A 1/4 teaspoon of salt in 8 cups of water last week, and just that alone gave me such relief from my extreme fatigue and muscle pain in my legs, because I stand for 40 hours each week, and I've done that for 30 years. This gave me relief, whereas all those other supplements did nothing. And she said, my adrenals are soaking it up, because what do I say about salt? It's the sodium in the salt, as well as the other 72 minerals that are going to support you, but the sodium in the salt really supports your adrenals. She said, I bought the entire Complement formula package, started slowly with the Realign and a 1/4 teaspoon of Remag, 1/4 teaspoon of Remite. Today I did a 1/2 teaspoon of each, but I feel a little sped up. And I did not start the RNA drops yet. I'm going slow. So see, these minerals are so powerful that they're going to start moving your body. And if you don't want to feel sped up, then you do the 1/4 teaspoon for 2, 3, maybe even 5 days before you move to the 1/2 teaspoon. And this was her major problem, and I'll address it because it has to do with the thyroid, I think. She said, for the last 2 months, I've been losing lots of hair. Every time I touch it, pieces are coming off. Washing my hair has become stressful. I'm trying to laugh it off and envision my hair coming back full and curly again, even though I did cry to my mother this morning, poor girl. My mindset has changed tremendously since listening to your show. I'm reading everything on your website, too. So this, the hair loss, that has a lot to do with low thyroid. So what a person can do is they can get the free Remag and Remite books. You know, try not to keep asking questions that are answered in the Remite and Remag books, because everything is answered in the Remite and Remag books. In the Remite book, I talk about the 9 minerals in Remite that support the thyroid. And they are iodine, selenium, zinc, molybdenum, boron, copper, chromium, manganese, and magnesium. And I don't know that. I know you'll never find a picometer size mineral supplement, and I don't know that you'd find one that has 12 minerals in it like Remite. It is an incredible product, and you know, my story that I've told ad nauseum is that 2 months into taking Remite, when I was testing the product a couple of years ago now, 2 months in, I felt a bit sped up, so I stopped my 60 milligrams of Armour Thyroid because my thyroid had kicked in, and everybody in my family is on thyroid hormone, and they should be on Remite, I know, but you know how family doesn't listen to you. So I'm sure she's going to be doing just exceptionally well on the Remite. She's got a great attitude, already knows that she's responsible and taking that responsibility seriously. She's wondering about fluoridated water and will the RNA eat it up? Well, you know, we like to think that the RNA drops will take care of all these toxins and poisons, but I don't. I can't scientifically say that's true, so I still tell people to get a filtration system that'll take out fluorides. And she says, as you say, the worst is over, and that's what she's feeling herself. And she asked if she should continue the slow sensitive person protocol. And I said, definitely. And as I was talking to someone today who's very sensitive, I mean, this woman I've been consulting with her for a couple of years. She detoxes if she does anything. Anything detoxes her. And so she's on a very, very slow regimen of taking a few drops of the Remag, and she's slowly building up, and she's doing great. It's just that I don't like people to feel worse at all when they're starting on these protocols, because they can tend to blame it on the supplements instead of blaming it on their toxicity. So I'd rather people just go slow and let things evolve gently, because if you go too fast, you're liable to stop everything, and then you have to start all over again. And what's the good of that? So I thank this person, this woman, for the email. It gave me a good jumping-off point to give a great overview of how people should work with the formulas, especially when they have thyroid problems. So there you go, Ginny.
Very good. That was perfectly executed, Carolyn, and it was a wonderful collaboration with her lovely note. Yeah, that was fantastic, fantastic. The reason that I pick these topics is because as I'm answering calls and emails to customer service throughout the week, themes kind of emerge, and in the last couple weeks, there have definitely been people concerned about their thyroid and metabolism. And also, Carolyn, I'm wondering if you can just say a few words about how leaky gut or candida, or how these digestive disturbances affect the thyroid and the metabolism as well, because I know you kind of talk about that in terms of candida and say you should consider that and take the questionnaire, but can you kind of talk a little bit about how it does throw the body off?
Well, a lot of people don't realize this, but I've written about it for decades. There are 78, is it a 78 or 178? Golly, I better check my own notes. There are a lot of toxins that yeast produces. I think, there are 178 toxins. And what happens is when I was working, many years ago in Toronto, I was doing antibody testing for yeast. And the doctor I worked with, he's quite a famous immunologist, and he, in his research, found that some of these yeast toxins cross-react with organ tissues. Thyroid was one of the big ones. So that means when you have yeast overgrowth from stress, high cortisol levels in your body, taking cortisone drugs, taking antibiotics. So when you make yeast and the yeast goes through its life cycle, these toxins can cross-react with your thyroid and block thyroid receptors and cause thyroid irritation and Hashimoto's and all the rest of it. So when I consult with clients, I'll look at their yeast questionnaire, and if they're high in yeast, I say, look, you have to starve your yeast or kill your yeast in order to get rid of the yeast toxins, because they're probably what's partly blocking your thyroid. Chlorine can block the thyroid. Fluoride can block the thyroid. A lot of things can. So when we were talking earlier about the woman who sent in the email, she had dropped all the irritants she could think of that could be affecting her thyroid. Leaky gut is a manifestation of yeast overgrowth, yeast irritating and kind of attacking the small intestine. It can cause small little punctures in the small intestine, which means that incompletely digested food can leak through a leaky gut into the bloodstream and make a person feel like they're allergic or sensitive to foods that they're eating. And that's one of the reasons I don't usually do food allergy testing, because what it will pick up is incompletely digested food that you're eating every day and make you think you're allergic to it, whereas that may not be true at all. So a leaky gut, there's a lot of layers to it. A lot of people talk about using glutamine as a treatment. I've written an article about that, actually. I think it's called MSG, gluten, and something else. Let me look it up for you, because I have real concerns that in the sensitive people that are getting this leaky gut from yeast, if they don't treat yeast and they just try to patch it up with glutamine, they might be either not helping or making it a bit worse. The name of the article is Solving the MSG Problem with Magnesium. It's had 2,336 Facebook shares, so that hit a chord with people. And I talk about the glutamine, number 2 here, or is it number 3? Number 4 in my list. Glutamine is the most abundant amino acid in the body. Most glutamine is made and stored in the muscles and lungs. Glutamine helps protect the lining of the GI tract. For that reason, some researchers have suggested that people who have inflammatory bowel disease may not have enough glutamine. However, 2 clinical trials found that taking glutamine supplements did not improve symptoms of Crohn's disease. So look at that. It's the most abundant amino acid in the body. And yet, people are being told that you should take it as a supplement to heal your gut. And it's just based on some sort of faith that it will do that, I think. But, even more concern is the fact that these glutamines as a single amino acid given to the body can break down in the brain to compounds similar to the MSG and irritate the brain. So, that sounds sort of scary to people, but you have to research these things thoroughly, and you can do that by reading my article and, come up with your own findings about it. So I guess just in conclusion, the inflammatory products produced by yeast will be absorbed through a leaky gut and block thyroid hormone. So that's what that's the association there that I've come up with.
Very excellent statement. Well, this is really good, Carolyn, because so many people ask so many questions related to this, and we always say partner up and do your research, but I've decided to start saying partner up and do your homework. Instead of researching more material, just read Carolyn's comprehensive material, not to be cultish or anything, but I think that a person who's been talking about candida and yeast overgrowth since the 90s, a person who, or a doctor or a credentialed professional like yourself, not just a person, who has been on the forefront of these medical issues and forewarning as a true prophet, a true harbinger about the dangers of sugar and of probable, all these biological issues with digestion. This of you having said this for so many years, and now you have all these pop-up experts is what I call them, just pop-up people who can cut and paste and put their picture up and, become an affiliate for a handful of supplements. And they do not have the background, and they certainly do not have the comprehensive view of all functions. And so here's a person coming in. I talked to a gal today. She's going to go get an ultrasound on her thyroid, but because it's not working properly. But she's never even heard of yeast overgrowth. She didn't even know what it was. And then you get into it, and she's got even more of the symptoms of that, and, but she's still going to do the ultrasound, fine, no problem. But, like we talked about before, getting down to the basics of what is it actually going to take to heal your body, or you can get to what can I throw at my body to try to manage my symptoms just so I can get some relief. It's better to just do the comprehensive work and heal your body.
Yes, and again, the woman who wrote in her case history, she listened to a year of archives. She did her homework, and at the end of it, she said, intuitively, I know this is where I and my family belong, and that's where I want you to get. You have to get it. I'm not going to keep answering people who won't even read my REMAG book and keep asking me, well, how much should I take? You really can't keep treating yourself as if you should be taken care of by some doctor. That's what got most of us into the problems we're in right now, because we let somebody else be in charge of our body. And Ginny and I, customer service, we will not be party to that. That puts you in a less than position, and that's just not where you want to be, even if you may not realize it right now. You want to be in control of your own body.
And absolutely. People do get kind of put out when sometimes, but our customers, they're willing to, do the things that they need to do, because as you pointed out, Carolyn, by the time people show up here, we're like the last stop on the way out of, people have gone through so many different challenges. People I don't think naturally select to do thoroughly, comprehensive protocols using food as medicine and natural elements like minerals. Their go-to is go to the doctor.
Yeah.
By the time they end up here, the doctor has really messed them up, and they have that semi-medicinal mindset of wanting to be told what to do. And so we are in a full court press educational process, as you've alluded to many times. But, do your homework, continue to read Carolyn's material, outline it. I tell people, take the books, print them off, take them to Kinko's or Staples or whatever it is, wherever you get your quick printing done, and make your notes in it. Keep a journal of your progress. Notice what does and doesn't work for you. And you're going to have to be, part alchemist, part physician, all, champion of yourself. And we're here to root you on and encourage you, as we do with many of our customers. And that's part of the process of the radio show, is to be in a constant state of encouragement, because we hear all the testimonials, so we know what does happen for people. But you've got to do your work.
Hey, Ginny, I personally have monitored a lot of this world for 30, 40 years, and I can say that I don't think there's been a person who's been right so often about everything for so long as Carolyn.
Very
correct. She's been correct.
Yeah.
Carolyn did homeopathy, all the alternative stuff, acupuncture, herbs, and all that. And they had good effects on people, but now she sees her products are even better than those things. So that's quite a new step.
Yeah, and what it is, Bob, is the complement formulas are in the hands of the consumer, the customer. They don't have to go to a homeopath who, does a history and figures out what to give them. They don't have to go for acupuncture. All these things can be adjuncts, and I'm not saying everybody's going to be 100% cured, but this is your starting point. This is not your finishing point. This shouldn't be, as our writer says, I wish I could say her name, but I didn't ask her if I could use her name. As she says, she spent thousands of dollars on expensive pharmaceutical supplements and all the testing. That's all that alternative medicine doctors seem to do these days, is thousands of dollars worth of testing, whereas the starting point should be getting the proper minerals in your body, doing some gentle detox, do the RNA drops and create perfect cells. Why can't we start there? That's all we're saying.
And you're saying, is it true that hair analysis is a big given? Everybody thinks that's useful?
I don't know. A lot of people don't know about it, but that's what, there's a certain brand of people that get into hair analysis because they want to have some sort of test. But like I said, if they're not using my minerals as the treatment, and if they're 3 months behind in what's actually going on, it's kind of it's a bit too iffy. I've
And you don't tell, if there's a therapist who does hair analysis, you don't tell them that's limited.
No, I don't. I just don't communicate with them. I don't bother. I mean, what happens is their clients and patients will just drop off. If something isn't working for you within the first 3 months, then you really should step away from it. And what we have happening with the complement formulas is, within days or within a week, things are shifting. Even if they're shifting to stir you up, then something is occurring. And, we keep reassuring people that the products are safe, and what's happening when they get stirred up is their body's detoxing, and that's what they should want, but they'll just do it slow enough that they don't create symptoms. Because, like Ginny says, and I know people will run to the hospital with their symptoms, and a doctor, even if a person is on several medications and they say, oh, I just started taking magnesium and I feel this and this, oh yeah, magnesium's bad for you. Magnesium is just a laxative, or what is this? Laxative, or there's one other thing it's for constipation. Anyway, it's.
Hey, Carolyn, on payday, and later in the show, I got into a nostalgic trip, and I was telling the audience how I discovered alternative foods or alternative medicine. And I recall, I think this is how it started. In 68, 69, we were living together before we were married, and you started making brown bread. And everybody was a white bread person, and we were before that. And that was, wow, this brown bread. And people would come over, and we'd slice up this amazing brown bread. You always were a good cook. And it'd be so delicious. But do you remember, that was the beginning of taking the alternative route.
Wow, making your own bread for Pete's sake.
Yeah, making your own bread, and you made it. What do you remember about that? Was that the beginning?
Well, it would have been whole grain bread, which now everybody's rejecting, which is so funny. But
oh, that's right. It was thicker, right? It was harder to chew or something than white bread.
No, what I remember is you got into eating a lot of oranges.
That's years later.
And they irritated your throat, and we realized when we switched to organic oranges that you'd been irritated by the pesticides in the oranges.
That was in Halifax, Nova Scotia in the early 70s for about 4 or 5 years at the Capitol store. Remember Capitol?
Right.
And then we moved to Toronto, and the first in 78, and right beside the residence you were staying at was the Baldwin Foods. And so I went in, health food store, and I started buying their oranges, and all of a sudden my itch in my throat was gone. So we knew it was the pesticides or something was in the maritime oranges. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That was my first, realizing something can be changed.
Well, see, what I was doing then before that, making the bread, probably eating liver and all that, was reading Adele Davis. Doing brewer's yeast. I was following.
That's a little later. Mm-hmm. I remember at Grove Street, you making the bread. Maybe even 242 Windmill Road. In 1970, 71. That's when we had the brown bread, and it was really good. It was really tasty. But you stood out because you made brown bread.
I've always stood out.
No, for these reasons. For the health reasons.
And then in medical school, I was making my own yogurt, and people were
shocked.
My colleagues were laughing at me until the dean of medicine came to class one day and in front of everyone, just before class started, asked me for my yogurt recipe. So everybody backed off.
Carolyn's first time of being right, you could say, in institutional medical world. That was the first time, Ginny. First validation of her.
Well, thanks for that trip down memory lane, Bob.
That's 66. In next year it's going to be 50, half a century ago.
Only seems like yesterday.
Yep.
Very good. Well, speaking of your yogurt recipe, Carolyn, I will just sneak this question from Nancy in Portland, Oregon in, talking about leaky gut and all these other things, and, of course, yogurt and how it supports the intestines. And what Nancy writes in is, I've heard more than once in many online health summit sessions, some suggest fermented foods with gut healing, but others say no if you are dealing with yeast issues. So I stopped with fermented anything I was trying out until I know better. Until I do better with the candida and sensitive odors everywhere. So what is more truthful about the fermented food situation?
It's individual. It's 50-50. Some people can do fermented, some can't, and that's where you have to experiment. Myself, I can do a tablespoon or so of sauerkraut a day. If I do a quarter cup, then it stirs me up too much. So it's the amount and it's the individual person. So you have to avoid fermented food for a week or two, and then try either a whole bunch of it or try a little bit of it and see how your body reacts. Nobody can tell you. Nobody can make a sweeping statement about any food, but fermented foods for most people, I think, are beneficial because they have the probiotics. Our RNA drops, we don't say they're fermented. It's not a fermentation process, but they have probiotic and prebiotics in them.
Very good. Very good. Well, that is our opening segment tonight with Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean. That takes us almost through the top of the hour, and we'll be coming back next hour with phone calls, questions, and our famous mailbag, where we do answer customer inquiries and also from the general listening population. We'll go over the ground rules for that segment at the top of the hour. But if you do have your computer handy and you have a question, you can either type it into our InQuick chat line, or Terry, you can send an InQuick message through the computer board at Achieve Radio Studio A. You'll see on the right-hand side it says InQuick message, and we'll read it on the air, either one. And then we'll start taking phone calls again. So thank you, Carolyn. Fascinating first hour. We'll be right back. This is Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. Stay tuned, everybody.
We'll be back with Hour 2 of Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean, along with host Ginny Gunther, after this brief station break. You can also get updates and resources online by visiting drcarolyndean.com.
Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is AchieveRadio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/AchieveRadio.
One of ION's agenda is to take all the esoteric mystery schools and show that it's not as complicated as the mystery schools make ascension. ION simplifies it, makes you relax, points out you're already ascended. You just have to change your mind to sort of realize that you are and allow it to happen. Also, the cycles of the perihelion, or whatever it is, the precession, whatever that Mayan calendar statistic is, that cyclical thing, 26,000 years, is not going to happen anymore. We're moving into such a new reality that cycles won't happen anymore. So we are actually experiencing something incredibly new in the universe at this point. And that's why the ascended, the ones who were not telling anybody about ascension, are fucking checking their watches now and saying, uh-oh, we've got to reassess where we are, even though we're ascended. Because something new happened in the universe.
AchieveRadio.com.
We return now live with Dr. Carolyn Dean, along with your host, Ginny Gunther, here on AchieveRadio.com. Skype us at ar.call.in. That's ar.call.in.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2 of Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. Glad to have all our listeners tuning in here and those who are listening from around the world, and always thrilled to see some of our long-standing customers that have been with us for the longest time. Some of my good buddies, like our good friend Mike and also Presley, always listening in, soaking it up and enjoying their health, vitality, and well-being, and always open for new information. Wendy, see you too. So welcome everybody again back this evening. Aaron's here. So many good listeners, good friends of ours who've been on this journey for a while and having these great experiences with the products, and also just gaining the confidence of what was shared a little bit on the break, this new environment that we're in. And that's part of what we also talk about on the show is the changing in the climate, the changing in the environment, and preparing our bodies for different dynamics. We've gotten so toxic. There's so many different factors going on. We have so many bodies. We have multiple expressions of ourselves that we're interacting with, that we need a comprehensive program. It can't be one-dimensional any longer. So that's what we're here talking about this evening with Dr. Carolyn Dean. Welcome back, Carolyn, to Hour 2.
Very good.
Yeah, very good. Okay, let me put a couple questions out to you, and then we shall proceed. From the first hour, Anna typed in, I bought all the products. I'm extremely glad they exist. After taking the Realign only once a day for a couple days, I got a very bad reaction on the third day, but then I was fine the other 2 days. Is it normal, and how should I proceed? My reaction was that I woke up at night with a stomach ache, and for more than a few hours after that, kept throwing up. It was very horrible for me. Thank you for the advice.
It's hard to say on the third pill. What you would do if you continued the Realign is probably take it with a meal to see if that changes it. I don't know. It doesn't necessarily mean the Realign did that, but if that's the only thing you changed and that's your intuition, then please take it with a meal and tell us what happens.
Right, very good. Yeah, a lot of mistakes people make with Realign is they do not take it with a meal. Got to take a full meal. Not like, grab a handful of peanuts and take a Realign. Take a full, use it when you have your full meal. Carolyn, Terry in Cocoa Beach, Florida. I'm interested in increasing metabolism while dealing with hypothyroid. Do you have specific diet recommendations? I'm currently only on low-dose T4.
Well, that's exactly what we just talked about. I spent, a half an hour discussing how to improve your thyroid. So that's what you would do diet-wise. I don't go into that. You can Google foods that block your thyroid, the goitrogenic foods like Brussels sprouts, broccoli, those foods. But basically my advice is to take the minerals. If you go to food lists that say they're high in iodine or selenium or foods that are supposed to support the thyroid, you don't know if those minerals are in the foods. They'll never be labeled to show you that those minerals are in the food. So I tell people to eat good foods, obviously, but I tell them to start with the Remag and the Remite. As an aside here to your question, a person wrote in, I'm on thyroxine. I'm pretty sure that's just the T4. I just had my thyroid levels checked. I've been taking magnesium, and the doctor thinks my blood test is in error, wants me to go back and have it done because their levels are higher than normal. She said, I just smiled and said, I don't think it's an error. I've been taking magnesium. The doctor just gave me a blank stare. And she said she'd repeat it. And the woman said, well, you can pay for the repeat test. You know, I know it's normal. So that's what happens if you just even take the Remag, is your thyroid can improve.
Yep. Good, Terry. Thank you. Yes, and one of the things that, as Carolyn said, with the food is if you look at the Remag booklet, Terry, just email me at support, SUPPORT, at rnareset.com, and I will send you the free Remite booklet. That applies to anybody who's listening. I'll be happy to send you the booklet on Remag. It's 62 pages. It breaks down each mineral, its effects, and its implications in the body. And the most important thing is, yes, when you get them in the bottle, you know it's in the bottle. Since food is questionable these days. Very good. Okay, so Terry.
Okay, Ginny, I want to mention something, Ginny.
Just a second, Bob.
Ginny?
Just a second,
Bob. I want to say something. Doug wrote in, as someone responded to me, quote, I never had the problem before I started the drops, so I will not take them anymore. And someone else mentions the problem. What could you go into people sometimes have a bad reaction to our products?
What product is Doug saying he had a problem?
Not him, but a friend took the drops, and some problem happened to them. So they're not going to take the drops, and they wouldn't listen to any more information. You point out that they have to read their booklets, but what could be the reason?
We don't have a booklet on RNA drops, and if it's our friend Doug, you know, he tries to talk to people about RNA drops because he and his friends have had so many incredible experiences. But what can happen with the RNA drops is it can start to make the perfect cells. It can bring something to the surface. It can uncover a layer of toxicity. When I first started the drops in the beginning times, I tasted tobacco in the drops, and I got a cold. And I just called it a beneficial mucus elimination. I thought I was eliminating some toxicity. So we are going to have people who will take either the RNA drops or the Remag and get stirred up and feel symptoms, and instead of blaming their own toxic body, they'll blame the drops or the Remag. That's what we've been saying. So it's fine, Doug. You know, he's not ready for them, or he doesn't want to even have one little sliver of excess symptoms or toxicity. When people do ask us directly about that, we've had people put 1 drop of RNA in 4 ounces of water and take 1 sip of that a day for several days to slowly sneak up on their body so that it doesn't start dumping on them. So I think that's what's happening there.
So it seems the majority of people feel better, which is the endorphin rush from the first few days that Ian says happens. But there are individuals, we even had someone we knew, they thought they got ulcers from it. Now, what is it? Who
got ulcers? I never heard that.
No, I'm not going to say the name.
I never heard that.
No, this is a friend of ours, Carolyn. You don't. This is a person who just bought them, didn't talk to you much, talked to you once, and it took them over a year, and then start having all these problems. So I'm saying that usually doesn't happen, but can you say something unique about why it might happen to people? You're saying
I just said they're toxic. Their body wants to. The body has this tendency to veer toward normal. And if you give it anything that will help it go toward a normal state, a balanced state, it will just dive in. If to go toward normal means you have to drop toxins or stir things up and get rid of heavy metals or a dozen, maybe 100 different things, then the body will take the advantage from whatever nutrients you give them to try to get to a balanced state. I don't know how else to explain it.
Well, that was a good way to say it. So you're saying the drops move us towards normal, but it's a normal with more cells. more double helix strands.
Yeah, more perfect cells, more double helix strands. But if normal means you have got to get rid of your toxins, and you got to dump the toxins. And who was it? Someone we met on the island who he and his girlfriend came to visit. He'd had eczema his whole life, total body eczema. And when he started taking the drops, his skin got better, and then he went through a phase where it seemed to get worse, and then he'd get through that phase and he'd reach a higher level of wellness. Each time he went through a bit of a toxic dump, then he'd come out of it feeling even better. And what happens is if people don't have a sense, an intuitive sense, or if they don't get in touch with us and know that we want to help them or whatever, don't understand this ebb and flow of symptoms, in the middle of a detox dump, they'll quit and, blame the drops instead of saying, okay, maybe I'm going through transition, maybe I'll phone up customer service, and maybe I'll talk with Carolyn and find out what's going on. Because
there's the naivety, Carolyn. Mm-hmm. People think they're waiting for the magic bullet that's going to transform them to nirvana, and they'll never have a problem again. That's really a stupid way to look at the body process. You're always going to have contrast in your body.
Right. But that's the way they've been educated and brainwashed by allopathic medicine. It will say this drug will have you dancing like a kid again, and it won't say that there could be 100 side effects to this, but, oh, no, you're not going to feel them. Your doctor won't even admit to most of the drug side effects. So it is total brainwashing because every drug has a side effect. Now, supplements are not supposed to have side effects is what people think, and this is our challenge in customer service, is trying to tell people, well, maybe this does not mean you have a side effect to magnesium. Maybe it just means your body's waking up. I mean, way in the beginning I wrote that blog, When Magnesium Makes Me Worse, and I keep adding to it because, people keep pushing the envelope with taking the Remag, and they'll have reactions. So anyway, it is the body trying to achieve balance, and if you go through contrast or conflict in the middle there, you just have to somehow use your intuition or do more homework, or, as I say, call customer service, or they'll put you in touch with me so we can help you understand that, that 50,000 units of vitamin D you're taking, maybe that's working against you. People don't even realize they could be on things that are antidoting their protocol, and they'll just sort of blame the protocol. People have told me, I started drinking a couple quarts of kefir a day. Yeah, maybe I'm getting too much calcium and it's affecting my magnesium. People are so unaware of what they're putting in their bodies, and they just expect some doctor to tell them what to do, that they're just going to get into trouble if they don't do their homework.
Well, very good, Bob. That was an excellent question, Bob. You evoked an excellent answer.
You evoked a contrast that brought us back to a better level of balance.
Okay, good.
Very good. Carolyn, I just want to finish up with Terry's question that she was writing in about asking for diet recommendations for dealing with hypothyroid. She went on to write back and say that she has been following your teachings for 5 years. She has a complete hard copy of her completement protocols, and she has been listening to all the information. But she also takes Remind and Remag. So she's doing her homework, and she is educating herself. So to that degree, Terry, we can only expect that actually what will happen is everything will work out perfectly. Isn't that what we think, Carolyn?
Oh, yes. And the diet, I've never really been dietitian, and I guess I just use the excuse that the minerals aren't in the foods anymore. But in terms of the thyroid, it is important to look at avoiding the goitrogenic foods. And that's the main thing about thyroid and diet. I don't mean to make light of those foods as being important to avoid. I don't really tell people to do a lot of seaweed because we don't know the iodine content of the seaweed, and I'm not in favor of high-dose iodine. When you take iodine, you really have to balance it with selenium, because when you promote a certain pathway with iodine, the next step in the pathway needs selenium. So if you use too much iodine, you get to a point in the pathway and you don't have selenium, you could cause an imbalance. So that's the reason why in the Remite formula we have selenium right up there with iodine.
That's interesting, too. If you Google goitrogenic foods, you'll find a whole list including pine nuts, peanuts, strawberries, pears, peaches, spinach, which people just suck down, sweet potatoes, which are one of my favorites. So there's all kinds of different things that you can pay attention to. Kale, which is like the most huge thing that everybody's just gobbling down like crazy, so this is a good piece of information, Carolyn. I don't think I've heard you say that many times. So goitrogenic foods, good to avoid, and the list is on the wiki, and you can just Google GOITROGENIC foods, and it will come right to you. Very good, very good. Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean. Let's see, we've got more in quick messages coming in, Carolyn, and then we'll try to get to some phone calls. One of the things Anna wrote back to you, Carolyn, and said, thank you for the answer about the Realign. I will follow it by taking Realign with a full meal. Can I open a capsule and take about half of it for the first couple of days? Absolutely, of course. By the way, I was very emotionally stressed out that day. I got a reaction, so maybe that contributed.
Yes, it can. I mean, the stomach can cramp up when you're under stress, but the only way to really find out is by eating with a meal and then finding that you're fine. We really haven't had problems with Realign, but as Ginny says, take it with a full meal, and maybe we'll check our label and just tell people that from now on, just to take it with a meal. What do you think, Ginny?
I think it does say take it with the full meal, but I'll look, Carolyn, real quick. Let me just ask this question. This gal, Tammy in Florida, types in, I took levofloxacin. Is that
levothyroxine?
Levothyroxine. And now have had neuropathy burning all over my body for 7 months. What else can I do? I am taking your Remag along with other supplements.
Well, I'd have to know a bit more about that, how long you were taking it, what dose, if the doctors think it's a reaction to the levothyroxine, is it an underlying magnesium deficiency? That's write us a full inventory of everything and send it in either today or for next week, because that's interesting. I'd like to know more, and I'm not going to just say take magnesium without knowing a lot more information.
Now, I know Tammy does have Remag. She is using it, but yes, that would be very good clarifying. So, Tammy, you can just email that to support, SUPPORT@rnareset.com, and I will get it to Carolyn. So, also, Lisa typing in Carolyn and says that she's been off all caffeine for a week. Thank God for the complement formulas. Never thought the detox would be so intense, though it only passed in 3 days. So it was hard, for a lot of people to get around the fact that coffee can do so much damage to the body.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Carolyn?
Yeah.
Is the most common experience in towns, cities all over North America, is the drugstore? Is it the most prominent thing in the neighborhoods, in the towns?
Yes. Remember a friend of ours who had to go to some small town, Texas, to take care of her brother for a while? She said every corner had either a drugstore or medical clinic or some, medical supply. medicine is huge business, and the pharmacies too. But someone was telling me today that the pharmacists are being affected by Obamacare. There's some sort of regulation on them now where they're not allowed to make as much money as they used to. So I thought that was a good sign.
Right. But for kids, a child not only experiences TV, but before they can speak and go to school, they are being taken into the drugstore environment by their mothers. It's like a womb thing, right? It's a core experience in people's lives.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I talk about in the pregnancy blog. Is when kids grow up on their Ritalin, their ADHD meds, there's a high proportion of them then go on to antidepressants, and they want to have a family and they have symptoms, they run for a drug. They're definitely programmed to think drugs are what they require and are safe.
Have you ever, like Duane Reade, I remember that in New York. Since I don't do drugstores, I don't know them. There's Shoppers Drug Mart in Canada. Have you ever looked at what CEOs think they're doing in these big drugstore chains?
Yeah, I know at one point they wanted to do something with nutrition, and I was following that, and all they did was bring in cheap vitamins, and they mostly promote everything that the doctor says. It's like a pharmacist is the handmaiden of the doctor. So they're pushing immunizations, they're pushing medications, and the pharmacists have an opportunity with their computers and everything to look at all the person's drugs and give them advice about not interacting, but I don't think they do that. All they're doing is dispensing medication, and the past number of years, the government has been trying to stop pharmacists who are compounding medications, which the big compounded medication is bioidentical hormones. And the drug companies are against that because it takes away their business. So the government is trying to stop compounding. So all a pharmacist is these days is a pill counter.
So it'd be interesting to have a dialogue between you and the chairman of the CEO of Duane Reade or something. What kind of attitude they'd have? I mean, maybe they just think you're a nut, but do they look at alternative studies? Are they always trying to make a cover-up, runaround of what people are naturally trending towards away from allopathic?
Their exposure would just be medical. What it would look like is they'd say a lot of words like scientific and research-based and clinical efficacy, and they would just throw out all those terms, whereas I just say, well, read my Death by Modern Medicine book. The research is hijacked, it's faulty, people are getting sicker and sicker. When I've said things like that, people are getting sicker and sicker, they say, oh, no, we're living longer. Look at the longevity. Men in the U.S. are living to, I don't even know, 78, and 50 years ago they were living to 71. So how can we be increasing the longevity by 7 years if people are getting sicker? So they'll use all these statistics, and you'll say to them, well, yeah, they're living longer, but they're living on pills. They have a lot of symptoms. People are not happy in who they are and what they're doing. So there's absolutely no way that you could win an argument between me and an allopathic doctor or an allopathic pharmacist.
Do you take a conspiratorial view that the IG Farben Nazis took over the global pharmacy thing, and they're actually still doing World War II and trying to wipe out North Americans, or there's a Global 2000 thing to depopulate? What do you think of those attitudes, which you might see in other anti-allopathic websites? I don't know if Mike Adams says that, but What you've known that view for 50, 40 years, but what do you say to someone who thinks, well, Carolyn, you're just up against a conspiracy. What do you say to that?
Well, maybe there was such a thing in the beginning. Yeah, in Germany, the IG Farben and all those people with their chemical companies, they had to scramble to find somewhere to land, and a lot of them landed in America, and they started drug companies. They started chemical companies that sprayed the crops. All that did happen. But as for 50 years later, whether anyone is still carrying the torch or leading that battle or orchestrating it, it doesn't even matter anymore because people are so brainwashed.
The conspiracy, if there was one, it won.
Yeah, it won.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are totally brainwashed. When I was writing the atrial fibrillation book, it was incredible, the cases I reviewed, and these would be my clients and patients or people who'd written me, the number of people who rush off to the ER because their heart is flipping around. And yeah, most people would do that because they don't know what's going on, but that's their first thought, run to the ER where they're given inadequate information. And people do that constantly, and they're going to a source that doesn't have answers. But it's as crazy as some women who get their annual mammogram. Somehow they think it's preventing them from getting breast cancer by doing an annual mammogram, and it's been 20 years since some of the first studies started coming out that mammograms can actually be causing breast cancer because of the radiation and the pressure on the breast if there's a cancer forming. So we're doing so many things that have been commercialized, and medicine is not going to walk away from them because they've been commercialized. They won't do thermography, which is a safe method of screening for abnormality in the breast. Thermography means they'd have to buy all new machines, train people. It's just too much of a burden. They'll stay with the mammograms.
But today, with that view, the conspiracy one, you are the most optimistic or the most happy about your practice and what you have to offer people than you ever did before in your life.
Yes, because when I was in New York doing what was the name of the technique I was doing in New York? MIR, magnetically enhanced homeopathic remedies. It was an injectable. We were injecting acupuncture points with homeopathic remedies that I would make myself from scratch, and we were really helping people with chronic fatigue and HIV, but it meant we had to train doctors and get doctors on board. They weren't interested. Only a handful of doctors were ever interested. It was costly, and I was always looking for a way that the individual patient, consumer, customer could take care of their own health, and that's why I'm so adamant about it now, that you have to do your homework, you have to take responsibility, you have to partner in your own health because you're the only one that knows everything about you.
Okay, thank you. Very good answer.
Thanks, Bob.
Awesome. Very good. Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here at Achieve Radio. 30 minutes to the top of the hour. We're going to go to customer calls. If you're on the line or would like to talk to Dr. Dean this evening, 602-666-6027 is the phone number. That's 602-666-6027. What you would want to do is call into the show and then hit star 5 on your keypad. Star 5 is going to raise your hand and let me know that you have a question or comment for Dr. Dean, and we will put you on the phone with her. Taking calls now, let's go to area code 650. California, you're on the line with Dr. Carolyn Dean. Go ahead, please.
Hey, it's Lisa back in California now.
Oh, I was hoping you'd phone in. Hi, Lisa. How are you?
I'm good. I tried to phone in last week. We were still in Maui, and I tried to call in, and boy, you're a busy lady. I was like at the bottom of the queue, I think, and we had to go and, we got to get some ocean water time in.
Good for you.
But anyway.
Yeah, we had a great visit with you and Christina, so that was fabulous. So, yes, how's it going?
Well, I was calling in to say how blessed I feel to have been able to spend the day with you and your husband. It's funny, my wife adores you. And,
sweet.
I've always known you've been lovely, but you are actually more lovely in person. It's incredible. Seriously. I mean, you just radiate love and joy, and it's something I aspire to. It's something that's changing in me and happening in me, and I know that, when you feel good, it's easier to do that. So it's funny. So I always like to follow people who I want to be like, and the other thing that I was amazed at was how agile and how you were able to just moved around and we were in a shoe department, and the woman had to be 30 years younger than you, and she's hobbling around, and you're like bending down, picking up shoes, helping her with hers, and it's incredible. It's a true testimony. Always. To me, you never follow a fat doctor or you never follow a sick doctor. Don't listen to them. And you're a doctor that I've aspired to for years, and seeing it in action and seeing the love and the joy radiate from you and the health radiate from you, it's just confirmation of what you do and the products that you offer. It's a true testimony, beautiful. and I want to emulate and be just like. So anyway, I want to thank you because we had a blast, and your husband is absolutely a joy to be around as well. He's hysterical. We had such a good time.
That's wonderful, and it was fabulous meeting you too. I knew you'd be wonderful. I hadn't talked to Christina, but she is just such a sweetheart. I mean, it was mutual, radiating love, health, and joy. I think that you're on the products. We really, Bob especially, got Christina more focused on the products, so that was really fun to see too.
Yeah, well, I know that one Saturday we will get on that call and have some fun with him.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, we do too. I do have a question for you, though, if it's okay.
Sure.
I read something recently, and it's funny. It is like, oh my God, that can kind of make sense. I read something where people were saying that if they take magnesium in their mouth or use it in their toothpaste, that it actually leaches out the calcium and makes their teeth weak. Now, I always thought that I put magnesium, the oil, I put it on my toothbrush every time. Do you think there's any validity to that? Because I figured it would make my teeth stronger.
It will. I know. I can't believe how these crazy little myths get out there. There's no way that magnesium can do that. So what someone is thinking is, how I talk about magnesium will dissolve calcium if it's in soft tissues, if it's inappropriately in soft tissues. Well, they're thinking that a tooth is a soft tissue. But, magnesium doesn't dissolve your bones. Magnesium doesn't dissolve your teeth. It is a component of your bones and teeth that makes them less brittle and is necessary for their formation. So you've just got someone who's crazily taking a few statements and drawing a completely erroneous conclusion.
Yeah, it is amazing what's out there, and that's why I'm so grateful for your call every week. And you always have a great answer and one that makes sense to me.
Yeah,
so
thank you, Lisa. Big hug
and
to you
hopefully
both.
We'll see you again soon.
Absolutely, anytime.
Okay, awesome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. Star 5 on your keypad if you have a question or comment. Otherwise, I think we've got to go to the mailbag. Carolyn, we do have another in-quick message, this one from Pamela. Dr. Dean, I've been having problems with my gum tissue since a young dentist cleaned my teeth a while back. The skin has been pushed away in one section. It's getting worse. Do you believe my gums could be infected?
Do I believe her gums could be infected?
Yes. Could it be my gums are infected? Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well, I wouldn't be able to say that. So somebody cleaned your teeth, pushed on your gums, and you have a gum problem. I'd go to a different dentist. I wouldn't know. I mean, maybe you do. Personally, what I would do if I felt that is maybe be swishing the Remag, diluted Remag in my mouth. What I tell people actually, Lisa, about magnesium in your mouth is don't really do it if you have mercury amalgams in your teeth, because magnesium can pull on the mercury. I would maybe be doing some 3% hydrogen peroxide, swishing that in my mouth, put some hydrogen peroxide in some water, but I don't know a whole lot about how a deep cleaning can affect the gums. You really should get it checked out. That's what I would say.
Very good. Very good. All right, let's see, Carolyn, let's do some of our mailbag. I know we've got a backlog of questions and ones that came in this afternoon.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can get some of that done.
Okay, great. Someone is saying here, your works are of great interest to me. I hope you can point me in the right direction to help me with my heart problem, which manifests itself as a left bundle branch block along with arrhythmia. Will magnesium supplementation help this, please? Yes, even in studies, left bundle branch block is helped with magnesium, and certainly most arrhythmias are, if not all of them. So read my atrial fibrillation book is probably what I said to her in an email. I also have peripheral neuropathy and other neural issues which have not yet been confirmed. Well, that's magnesium deficiency until proven otherwise. To be able to walk, I've been prescribed gabapentin, 800 milligrams 3 times a day. That's a pretty high dose. Now, I don't know what to be able to walk means. I don't know the extent of this person's disability. It sounds pretty severe. And whilst this does work to some degree, it's frying my brain, my memory is deteriorating, and things make less sense than they did. So this is someone with serious conditions. I don't know if what came first, but they're both the heart and the nerves. The heart muscle and the nerves are both affected by magnesium deficiency. Certainly taking magnesium is not going to hurt, and it could certainly be helpful. Here's some sweet person who's saying, I just wanted to say I think you were awesome, Dr. Dean. Your talk with Anna Marie Michaels at the Healthy Life Summit gave me a huge boost, and now I am a magnesium junkie. I love you for it. Thanks for your generosity. So that's very sweet. Another person, you are amazing. Now, this does not go to my head. None of this goes to my head. So I can read it out here, and I don't take it, well, I take it seriously, but it doesn't go to my head. You are amazing. Quick question regarding my 43-year-old son. He has tingling in his hands and feet. Just had an MRI to rule out several things, MS, Parkinson's, etc. Now, see what they do. You have tingling in your hands and feet. You take magnesium. You don't do a $5,000 MRI to rule out things. And maybe you do. Maybe that's good to do, but start with the magnesium. Still no concrete answers except maybe lacking B12. Well, B12, if you do B12, make sure it's a methylated B12. We have methylated B12 in our Realign now. And this person is a healthy paleo eater, so that's high protein. And I have it in the Remag book and my Magnesium Miracle book. If you're on a high protein diet, you are going to be low in magnesium. So yes, magnesium would definitely help. The next email, my 86-year-old mom was on statins for more than a decade, the statins for lowering cholesterol. And we took her off 2 years ago once I had done research and learned how destructive they are, and that they really do not benefit an elderly woman anyway. By the way, I also learned that cholesterol is required in our body, our brains especially, and wonder if her long-term use of statins has led to dementia. Yeah, very good question. While doing my research, I found your blog. We immediately started her on Remag. She's done really well on the magnesium and even came off her diuretic. Recently, she had a minor stroke that temporarily affected her vision, but nothing else. It gradually improved over 24 to 48 hours. She had no other symptoms from the stroke. Now, that's awesome to recover like that. However, as a result, her doctor put her back on Lipitor, stating she needs it to reduce her risk of another stroke. I don't think there's any evidence of that. I just have to ask you, can statins actually improve her chances of not suffering another stroke? And does the benefit outweigh the risk? I answered her by sending my blog, Statins Cause Atherosclerosis and Heart Disease and Heart Failure. And this was a blog that I did a short time ago. And I said, statins have not yet been shown to reduce stroke risk in the typical general population, no matter how many studies they do, nor have they been shown to prevent recurrent stroke in patients with prior stroke. So when this doctor, I mean, it's almost like, look, you got a stroke because you're not on statins, go on statins, with no research to back it up. I mean, they keep saying they're science-based, but the science says no. And the next person, we're getting a good amount of the mailbag attacked here. I just wanted to give you a high five, letting you know you've helped another person on the road to recovery. A new rheumatologist said I have calcium pyrophosphate dihydrate crystal deposition disease. Now, they keep coming up with these folks. I mean, every time I turn around, there's a new acronym. This is CPPD, on top of common variable immune deficiency, CVID, a disorder that impairs the immune system. So this person has a lot of symptoms. Then she found my Magnesium Miracle book. She found it indispensable. And she said all her symptoms look like magnesium deficiency. And she was, one of the people. She actually was in naturopathic training for a while as an older student, but she had to quit because of all her symptoms. And she said she went the route of doing the high-dose vitamin D and a lot of other things without even looking at magnesium. So now she's doing magnesium, and she's going to keep in touch. It is amazing to me how it's magnesium is at the bottom of everybody's list.
I know, it's crazy. I even look through blogs and different things to see what people are writing about it. Magnesium is rarely mentioned even on top supplements to help heart disease, and they're talking about CoQ10 and everything, and magnesium's nowhere to be found. Carolyn, we've got a phone call and also a couple in quick messages. Rosie in area code 360. I would like your opinion on pesticides. I moved out of my rental place because they were spraying fipronil, Fipronil, for termites. I looked it up, and in animals it is a thyroid disruptor, plus it's on the EPA's watch list for carcinogens. I decided that for my health I wanted to live in a house that doesn't spray around the exterior of the house with toxic spray every 2 months. Was I wise? She asked.
Well, I certainly don't allow spraying inside my house. I will let them do a little bit outside, but I had a big showdown with 3 guys that showed up at my door and actually used a key to get into our house to spray when with my deafness and all. I was on a consult and I didn't hear them. They started to come into the house to spray me down. And I just screamed at them. I created a real kerfuffle. I will not allow indoor spraying. They cannot tell me that something that's going to kill a living creature is going to be A-okay for me, because most of these sprays are neurotoxins, and I have a nervous system just like a cockroach does. So I refuse indoor spraying. So I agree with you.
Very good. Excellent. Good move, Rosie. Very good. Okay, awesome. And let's go take some phone calls. Carolyn, area code 919. Great state of North Carolina. You're on the line with Dr. Carolyn Dean. If you could give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Yes, my name is Roman. I called in before, Dr. Dean.
Yes.
You might remember my phone call.
Yes.
I had a question for you. I did the test that you recommend, the RBC magnesium test, and
yes.
I didn't take my magnesium for 12 hours before the test, and I came in with a 4.9. And I wanted to ask you if that was pretty bad.
Well, what have I written about that?
You said 6.5 is the optimum number.
Right. So what do you think? What do you think?
I think it's pretty bad, but
yeah. I mean, it could be worse, Roman. You know, because they say the range of normal, they say, is 4.2 to 6.8. So your doctor would say, "Oh, you're fine. You're just fine." But that's in a population where 80% of the people are deficient. So that's where you want to be up at the top 20%. You want to be up at 6.0 to 6.5. So, you know, you've got a ways to go. How long had you been on the REMAG before you did the test?
That's what really scares me. I was on the REMAG about 2 months. So I must have been definitely low before that. I mean, I must have been in the threes or something. I don't even want to think about how low it was.
Don't think about it, Roman, because, you know, if you had been in the threes, you would have been twitching and fibrillating even more, because I remember you had the atrial fibrillation, and, you know, they might have done a magnesium test. So, you know, you might have been just, 4.2 or 3. So don't worry about it. And, you know, it can take 6-8 months to build up your magnesium. But how is your fibrillation doing?
It's doing better. The only thing, I got a little disappointed the other day. I was driving, and I went into a whole bunch of PVCs in a row, and I had to pull off the road. Luckily, it didn't last but about 10 or 15 seconds. Now, I've gotten to the point with the REMAG that if I do go in, the only times I go into AFib now is if I'm unloading in my truck in the hot weather. And after about 30 minutes of doing that, I will start AFibbing, or trying to, and I will take more REMAG. And after about 5 minutes, that's as long as it lasts, I pop right back into rhythm. So I don't have these 4 and 6 hour ordeals like I did before. But and I've started taking the Epsom salt baths the other day. I'm trying to take 2 of those a day. But I am a million times better than I was, before 2 months ago when I just started taking the REMAG, and I'm doing the Realign now, and I'm also doing the RNA drops. So
and the Remite too, Roman, and the Remite.
No, ma'am, I haven't. Yeah. I'm doing Remite, REMAG, Realign, and the RNA drops. And I'm doing salt in my water, and I'm taking the Epsom salt baths. The episode on the highway really scared me the other day, but I figure I'm still, in the 4.9 and maybe in the low 5s, which I can still have issues until I get up into 6s. So that's what I told myself, and I called the cardiologist just to report. I was supposed to, actually, it's funny, I was supposed to have my ablation tomorrow, and I canceled it last week. After I ordered the RBC test, and when it was 4.9, I said, there's no way that I'm going to do the ablation with my magnesium this low. I'm going to wait till I get up to what you recommend, and then if I'm having problems, significant problems after that, then that might be a consideration, but not right now.
Yeah, and that's a great way to look at it. Now, when you were driving, Roman, what was going on? Were you under stress, or had
I was under a little bit of stress on the phone in a conversation, and I had a lot of issues going, with work, and I think that might have triggered it. And but it just scared me because it went on for quite, 15 seconds is an eternity when you're having a bunch of and the cardiologist told me I might have had a quick burst of AFib, and it just really irritated my ventricles, and I had some chest pain, and then I felt it when it popped back into rhythm, but it was almost like I was, quivering, but he didn't seem to be too worried about it. Good.
Well, the thing of it is, do you have my AFib book, Roman?
Yes, ma'am. I ordered it, and I've read it through 2 times. So,
well, when you look at CB's story, she went on up and down for a year. That's why I put it in there. This woman, she shifted her symptoms, but she stuck with it. And I just heard from her the other day, and she's still doing terrific. So it's, we get impatient and we get worried, and, we get all these things. And I had my heart arrhythmia was PVCs, and they really do a number on you. I hear where you're coming from, but when you go through that sort of thing, just call us up like you're doing now, read the AFib book again, and like you say, you've got all the options covered. You're taking all your minerals, and if you need to get the ablation, then you'll get it, and your body will be able to, you'll withstand it, and you won't have any more problems. That's if you need an ablation. Your doctor, before doing an ablation, should do a Holter monitor on you for a few days to make sure you're even having any AFib. They won't go in there if there's nowhere that they can ablate.
Yes, ma'am. I had one other question for you. I read in your books, some days there's more of a requirement for magnesium. So, like if I'm working on the truck, in the hot way, I'm in the south, and the temperatures have been close to 100, and that's when I tend to have my most problem. So I take extra Remag. Like I said, the episode will only last 5 minutes, and I'll get off the truck, drink my big water, and I'll add more Remag to it. So on a hot day, I might take over 3 teaspoons.
Yeah.
And I'm doing the Remite. I think you told me a teaspoon and a half of that. But some days I notice that I require more Remag, and I can't tolerate calcium at all right now. Like if I eat a big gluten-free cheese pizza, it will just really aggravate my heart. So I don't, like you told me, I don't do any. I'm hoping one day I will be able to eat some calcium again. Cheese and stuff like that.
Yeah, you will. It's just your body really just craving the magnesium. And yes, some people, you're sweating out the magnesium, you're stressing out the magnesium, you're using it up, and I mean, on a good day, I'm taking 3 teaspoons these days because it is hot here and our AC died. So I know 3, 4. I have people taking 4 and 5 teaspoons a day sometimes. So that's just fine.
Okay.
You know, you still, Roman. Yeah, you still have that. The fail-safe, you will get the laxative effect if your body says it's too much. That's all.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now, one other quick question. With the Epsom salt baths, do you is it okay to do 3 cups of that in the hot water or?
Yeah, it's 2 and 3 cups if you get a big bathtub. 3. I mean, sometimes I'll put in like 5 pounds. It's fine. And if a hot bath is too much for you, I've been saying this to some people who are, in the hot weather. Just do a lukewarm bath or do lukewarm foot bath with a cup and a half of Epsom salts.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, well, those are all the questions I have for now, and I'll probably call back again soon and have some more questions for you.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, we like following your progress. I mean, look at you. 2 months ago, you were calling us about, having wondering whether or not you should get this ablation and what you were going to do. You've gone through an incredible transformation in just these 3 months.
Yes, ma'am. I'm definitely going to stick with it. And mentally, I am doing a lot better. The anxiety and the panic is all but gone, and the depersonalization is a lot better also.
Wow. Yeah, it is. It's incredible how many areas of the body that the magnesium affects, and you're proof of that. And I think I hear the top of the hour, so thank you for calling, ma'am. Roman. We'll talk again.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Yep. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Excellent show, Carolyn. Once again, thank you. Thank you for laying down the tracks that you laid down. Awesome drumming, Bob. It was a rocking show. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thanks, Jenny. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Bob. And the listeners.
You've been listening to Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. Till next time, so long, and thanks for all the fish.